Okay, today we're bottling, and I wanted to show you a few of the things that you're going to need whenever you bottle. Now, if you're reusing your bottles or just cleaning your equipment in general, I always use this OxyClean free, and it's free of perfume and dye, so you don't have to worry about, any lingering tastes when you use this stuff. You're obviously going to need bottles, 2 cases, pry off type lid, not twist off, they won't seal properly. You need priming sugar for your batch. If you've got a kit, it'll usually come pre-measured, but if not, it's best to use a calculator online. This nice little contraption is a bottling wand, and what it does is it allows you to bottle by continuously feeding this thing with beer, and the only way it'll dispense is once you push this up, it'll release the beer. So when you put it into the bottle, it won't release until you push it all the way to the bottom, fill up your bottle. Whenever you're done, you just lift it up and it stops the flow, so you don't make a big mess everywhere. Racking cane, obviously you need crown bottle caps. Bottling bucket makes everything a lot easier. I'll show you different ways of doing it if you don't have one of these, and if you have to use your racking cane to bottle. You also need a capper. I have a handheld one. They also make one that will go onto a bench that you just pull down. Those are a little bit easier to use, and they're also faster. And we also need our Star Sand sanitizer, of course. Okay, it's time to do some multitasking. Now we have our bottling bucket. We got our Star Sand mixed in. We did a 5-gallon batch because we're going to want to sanitize all of our bottles. We need to sanitize the racking cane and everything that the beer is going to be flowing through, even, our bottling one. So we're going to have to run some sanitizer through it too. With Star Sand, you want 2 minutes of contact to, sanitize them. Cleaning isn't just enough, obviously, because, stuff can still grow inside the bottles. So we need to sanitize them before we fill them up. I'm going to do that in the sink. We also have water heating up so that we can dissolve our priming sugar. As soon as we're done sanitizing, this bucket will be empty. Since it's no rinse, we can just dump the priming sugar solution right in, and then we're going to rack from our fermenter into the bottling bucket, and then we can begin bottling. But first we need to sanitize our bottles, so we're going to go ahead and do that. We have our sanitizer in the bottling bucket now, and it's also in the bottling wand there, and it's going to sit in here for 2 minutes at least. We're using Star Sand, so it should sanitize within 2 minutes. We have our racking cane in the bottling bucket and the sanitizer as well, since it's going into the beer. And we're going to rack the sanitizing solution over into the sink so that we can sanitize our bottles in the sink. And then we're also going to get our caps, and those will go into the sink to get sanitized as well. The water's nice and hot now, so we're going to dump our priming sugar in and let it dissolve. So we just want to dump this all in here, get it all in, and then I'm going to go ahead and stir this so that it's cooled down by the time we're ready to add it to the bottling bucket. Okay, so that's all dissolved, nice and clear. Racking cane is racking sanitizing solution into the sink. We have some bottles in there to get sanitized. We need to make sure these get filled all the way up. Sit for about 2 minutes. Then we'll empty them out and we can begin the bottling process. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my time, do 10 bottles, fill them up, cap them, and while I'm filling them up and capping them, I'll have the next 10 sitting in the sanitizing solution, so I'll kind of get a routine going. So as soon as the sanitizer gets out of the bottling bucket, we'll go ahead and put the priming sugar in, and we'll rack from the fermenter over to the bottling bucket, and I'll show you how that's done. Okay, bottling bucket is drained. We have our sanitizer in the sink, sanitizing 10 bottles and the bottle caps. We turned off the spigot to the bottling bucket because we're going to rack the beer over into the bottling bucket now with our sanitized solution. What we want to do first is, if you notice, there's still bubbles in sanitizing solution in the bucket. Not a big deal. When you use Star San, it's a no rinse sanitizer, so you don't have to worry about the foam or some residual moisture from the sanitizer. It's perfectly safe. So we're going to take priming solution. It's going right into the bottling bucket. And the reason why we put it in there first is so that whenever we rack our beer over into the bottling bucket, it's going to mix it up nice for us. Now remember, you want to turn that spigot off, because if you don't, then you're going to have a big mess on your floor, because odds are that it might be touching the floor. Okay, we started the flow. I only have it halfway in. I'm using the lid to keep it in place. And as you can see, that's so that we get nice clear beer running through the line and into the bottling bucket. So right now everything's going good. We want to wait until this fills up all the way. And I'm going to put the camera down and watch so that we don't get any of the gunk that's on the bottom of our fermenter into the beer. Okay, this is the reason why you don't want to just stick the racking cane all the way in the bottom of the fermenter. You don't want to bottle that stuff. All it is going to make a lot of residue and stuff on the bottom of your bottles. So you want to keep an eye whenever you're racking. And we got it all in our bottling bucket. So we're going to go ahead and put this up on the counter, get the fermenter out of the way, take some bottles out, and we'll show you how to bottle them up and cap them. Okay, we got everything set up. There are 10 bottles that were sitting in sanitizer. Remember, we use Star San. You don't have to worry about those bubbles that are in there. Perfectly fine. Turned our spigot on. We got the beer running to our bottling wand, and we have more bottles in here. I have a towel ready because we're going to be sticking our hands in the sanitizer to get the caps whenever we fill them up. So let's go and get started. Alright, I got myself a chair. Try to make this as comfortable as possible because it does take a little while. Take our bottle. All we want to do is slide this in here to the bottom until it hits the bottom, and it'll start to fill the bottle up from the bottom to the top, minimizing oxygen getting into our beer, because from now on we don't want any oxygen in our beer. We're going to fill this up to this neckline here where my thumb is. And then we just drop it down. Okay, now we're going to pop a cap on. To our sink here. Dry our hand off real quick. I like to put my cap on the top first, but you can also put it into the capper first. There's actually a little magnet in there that'll hold it. Just want to put this on here flat. Close it up like that. Even pressure on both sides. Push down till it's flat. Lift off. And we're capped. So we want to do that 47 more times, and then we're done. And then they need to sit 2 to 4 weeks so that they can naturally carbonate inside the bottle, and then they'll be ready to drink. Now you might be saying, okay, Mr. Brew Tutorials, I don't have one of these bottling wands. So I took it off, and I'll show you how to use a bottling bucket without a bottling wand. You're still going to want to get that piece of tubing cut and put on the end of there. so that you can stick it down into the bottom of the bottle. You're just going to have to use your spigot. Put it in here like this. All you're going to do is turn on the flow. Wait till it gets up to the top. Turn it off. Cap it and repeat. That way, not so difficult. Now, if you're very unfortunate and you don't have a bottling bucket, I'll show you the two ways that you can do it with your racking cane. Don't have a bottling bucket, God bless your soul. We're going to try to do this with a racking cane. Hopefully you have a bottling wand, even though you don't have a bottling bucket. It'll make it a little bit easier. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pan here. I'm just going to put it on the ground. I'm going to try to stroke this and see if we get anything. Just a little too far from the ground here. So I'm going to have to lift this up. Okay, there we go. Now we got a flow. Now that we got our flow, we can move this out of the way. Grab a bottle. Here she comes. Okay, so there we have it. We got that one filled up. Now we're going to try it without the bottling wand. Okay, now we have our racking cane. No bottling wand. Pretend like the spigot isn't here. No bottling bucket. We're going to try to fill a bottle with this method. Obviously we're going to need the pot in here. We're just going to stick this in here and try to hold it. We're going to draw this. See if we can get a flow here. One hand. Okay, so we got a flow. Hold it above the level of the liquid. I'm going to take our bottle, slide this in here, lower, fill up our bottle, get beer everywhere, and repeat. That is what you got to go through if you don't have a bottling wand or you don't have a bottling bucket. Not easy, not clean. You're going to lose a lot of liquid. So I suggest getting one of the two. That way you don't lose all your beer that you worked so hard to make and waited so long to bottle.